time for Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock.
Believe me when I say we have a difficult time ahead of us. But if we are to be prepared for it, we must first shed our fear of it. I stand here without fear because I remember that I am here not because of the path that lies before me, but because of the path that lies behind me. I remember that for 100 years we have fought these machines. And after a century of war, I remember that which matters most. We are still here! Tonight, let us make them remember we are not afraid!
All right, that's what we're going to do. We got to get ready. It's Saturday morning, August 20th, and we're going to take Lawrence Driggs back to the airport in Spokane. He's going back to Southern California, get all his stuff, to be back up in a week. So, but one thing that we had not gone over yet, we want to make sure we include with the occupied land dome building project is actually building the dome itself. You know, the struts. We have not gone over that yet, so we're going to do that real quick, and you get learnified. All right. Now, you go to the internet and you just type in Money Dome, and when you do that, you get this. You go Money Dome, Freedom's Phoenix. Probably be the fastest way. This stuff keeps getting moved around by Google. But you go Money Dome, Freedom's Phoenix, and this link comes up. Now, you can search Freedom's Phoenix, and you'll get it. You go into this, and it'll take you to when we made our first. It's already loaded over here. It made our first dome. You know, this was we were playing. Here we go. Now, what we did is this is a 3-phase dome. We're going to talk about that and how it does. We got Desert Dome Calculator. We got a bunch of links here. You know, we just threw this up there, and this is a good place to start. Now, it'll come up to this, and you put in the radius of whatever you're doing. There's a lot of considerations in that, and we'll get to it. But what I wanted to show you, once you get the right measurement, all you do is you cut the EMT struts with a cutoff blade or a hacksaw, whatever. I mean, how much effort you want to put into it. Then you squish it. You know, you could do it on an anvil with a hammer, which we did. You know, we tried to do this. That's why we have a stamp press and the die that we did and make this go a lot faster. We'll show you here in a little bit. But you can go low-tech if you want to. And then you drill the hole. And the way this works, it's measured from the hole to the hole for each of the struts. So you have to have extra space on top. You know, it's a 3/4 of an inch that go from the hole to the edge. So you got to incorporate 1.5 inches per strut of whatever it tells you to do. Now, we just use these little pens for making quick for vending at events and so on. We just put it up and then popped it, pulled the pins and pulled it out, and it fell apart. But it wasn't really tight. It was kind of loose and jingled kind of stuff. But it was strong, but it wasn't, didn't give you a real tight feeling. You bolt them, and then they ain't going anywhere, So this was what we had done. We sewed this just from SAS. It's a surplus fabric place, and we just got, and I sewed this together. You make triangles, and you'll see here there's a width of the material, and I'll show you, there's a calculator up there, how wide is your material. Okay, it's 1 meter wide, and they go, all right, 1/2 meter up, it's going to be this wide, and then this wide, and then this wide, and then you just get a pattern, and then I just cut a bunch of them, sewed them together, and done. That was the first time I sewed, and I did a relatively not sucky job. So this is where we had vending 5 stations all the way around. And if you go on the internet, you can see where we would have this at different functions and so on, and we may look that up. So this is our first dome, we made for an event, and you just rolled it up when you were open, had all our T-shirts and crap hanging around, and you had 5 stations, so no waiting. And when we were done, we just undid it, and it rolled down. So this is useful for a lot of things. Now, I like this size because, we'll go ahead and show you. when you go in here, you want the Desert Dome calculator. And you click on that, and it takes you to here. And boom. Dome calculator. So you go to the Dome calculator. Now, this is what they call phases. A one phase means all the struts are the same length. Two phase, there are two different lengths. Three phase, there are three. And then, of course, when you go to 4, it is 6. I don't know why, because it is. So you got 6 different lengths. And no ads, please. You got 6 different lengths. Now, what you see here, a sphere, if you're making a ball, this is all the way around. You make a ball. That is a sphere and how many struts you need for it. Now, this is a dome. Now, this is important to keep in mind. I'll show you on the 3-phase because it's easier to see it. Okay, on a 3-phase dome, half a dome is right there in the middle of the bottom run. That is what half of a sphere is. So if you continued this out, it would make a dome, but the middle of the sphere is here. So when you make enough struts to here, that's called a 3/8 dome. You'll see here 3/8 to go and incorporate the middle, and it starts to bend in just a little bit. You'll see here it starts to bend in. It's going to start making a sphere because this is the halfway mark. That's a 5/8 dome. So what we've been doing is 5/8 domes. Okay, so that makes the wall come up. If you were standing on the floor here, then your head would hit. So we do this. A 6-foot man can stand right next to the edge, and this just barely starts to get close to the shoulder, and his head doesn't hit. I can stand right on the edge of the dome, and my head not hit. So, if you got furniture and stuff, you're fine. So this is one reason why we like 16-foot domes. The other reason is you're getting the conduit in 10-foot lengths. When you get a 10-foot length, how many of these can you make in there? So let's go ahead and find out. Now, if we do it, now I use metric because it's easier to get decibels. 38.2 centimeters is a hell of a lot easier than 38.2 inches. I have no idea what that is. So I convert. Once you start, you do this. And I think it's like 16 foot is, I don't remember, 280 or some crap like that. So we go, we'll just do it in feet and have a little bit of brain damage. All right, so we go 8 and submit. You got to click submit. You can't hit enter. I don't know why. So when you hit that, boom, it does the calculations. So to do a 5/8 dome, I need 30 pieces that are 2.788 feet. Now you know why I do metric. Let's do metric because hell no. All right, so we'll just say 200 centimeters. So I get 69.72 centimeters on one strut, and that's a lot easier. On the metric measuring is just, 72 millimeter. It's easy. So you go 30 of these, 55 of these, 80 of these. These 3 different sizes, and they go in a configuration. I got a better map for putting it together. But this is how you do it. But you got to remember to add 1.5 inches for each one of these. Now, if you do that, you go, the reason this is such a good size is for 8 feet, it's like 15.98 or something like that feet. And the reason is because you're left over, if you do 3 C's, you're left over with 3/4 of an inch of conduit. You get the full size when you add in the 1.5 inches per strut. So for a 10-foot piece, what is that? Inch has 4.5 inches, extra that you need. That's like a decimeter or something. So you put in your size. Now, if we were doing 30 foot, I'll go ahead and put in 15-foot dome. 15-foot radius. So you go in, and it says, all right, you have to have 5.229 feet, so you're not going to get a full one. A 10-foot dome, you're left over with 4-foot sections all the time. So it's going to be 14 point whatever it is. So you got to take into consideration exactly how I want this big a dome. But if you just do it, then you're wasting a bunch of conduit. You got to make sure you get at least 2 cuts into, and this is, yeah, so I did it wrong. That's 4 phase, so we put 15 in here, and that'll be a lot better. So the struts get smaller, all right? So here you have 4.8, but you got to have 1.5 inches, so it's like 4 inches. So you got to finagle this. How many of these do you cut, and then how many A's? So you get like, you get one of these and 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 one of these. So you have to map it out. Now I have a book that I wrote, my little foldy pirate book. It's laying around here somewhere. And I put in the maximum I could get with 10-foot conduit on a large dome, and it's about 29 feet. It's a little bit less than a 30-foot dome. But if I didn't do that, I'd have, I'd use up a crap load more conduit. So you got to be careful. Keep in mind the 1.5 inches per strut, which is, 3.81 centimeters, some crap like that. But with 3 or 2 per conduit, 3 on the 3-phase, and you get 2 on a 10-foot section when we do the 4-phase, then you get 4.5 inches or something extra that you need. So once you got that in mind, then you just get rock and roll and you can do what you want. Now, the other thing is, if you go to 5-phase and 6-phase, you'll see they get rounder. Mm-hmm. They get more faceted as you go through. And it provides more strength. Just for an example, we'll go 6-phase and they have like a bunch of struts. Oh, my God. So if we did 15. Now, you don't save anything because you need more struts, but we'll put it in there for grins. But you see, now they're smaller. They're 2 feet, 3 feet. You got a really dense structure. But what we're doing, especially with the hog fence, 4-phase is fine with 3/4 inch conduit. Now, what we want to do is we'll look over here. Let's see, we do slides. All right. Now there's Lawrence doing the first, when you're first shooting this, and you kind of smooth it out, and when the machine worked for like a, one bag. And then what we're going to do is go through these. Now that's a 30-foot dome with the structure there. That's the one that we have in Arizona. Now, this right here is the stamp press. You see inside the jaw. Let's go back. You see inside the jaws of this thing, there is a die that we stamp the end of it, and we'll show you that. But this is the machine. That thing is heavy. Now, this is where we cut the conduit, and we can do them in bundles of 10 all at one time with this cutoff blade. So we can, mass produce them. Now, the one on the right, that is 3/4 inch conduit. The one on the left, that is 1/2 inch conduit. Now, I think 2 of them are 1/2 inch and one of them is 3/4 inch. Now, the 1/2 inch we do the 16-foot domes with. The 3/4 inch is when we're getting larger. And it's just, obviously, it's just bigger, heavier conduit. It gives you more strength. And that's what we started. Now, this, you can see, is a 3/8 dome. It didn't have the bottom run on these 2 little domes setting off to the side. So we added another level so you could stand up in it. And they just didn't have they weren't finished, so we finished those. Now, when we were chunking out the pieces for the 30-foot dome, I just laid them out here, and each size I painted the ends of them a different color. From chartreuse to freaking neon purple, whatever colors they had, don't care. So, but you can color match the map, and I'll show you that. Now, this is what that 4-phase dome looked then. Now it's got windows in these stars here. It's got a big door here. It's got a brim that comes around like a baseball hat, for shade, and it's very cool. So we've been working on this, and it sits on a foundation. Now, you don't have to have a foundation. You do a footer or foundation, whatever, it doesn't matter. So this is what we're building. This is the substructure. This is what everything goes on. So that's what we're talking about here. This is the part that we haven't done yet. Now, then we took those struts, we undid where they were meeting in the middle, and we just cut them to length, pounded out the end, and screwed them in to the wood frame for the door. That's how we did the door. And then the windows, this is before we actually disconnected this. I was setting them up because where these red stars are, that is the only place where it is level to the ground, the conduit in this. So that's a perfect place for where a window goes. So then we undid this, and then we took the struts and we screwed them to that. And that's how it's interfaced with the dome, the window. So we did that. This is the mesh, one of the meshes. We have different ones. This is the mesh that we're putting over the hog fence. Now, it's a heavy gauge fence. I think it's, I don't know, it's like 6 gauge or something. It's a pretty heavy fence. And we put that, and that's what we put the cement on, is that. And we got, approval from structural engineer. He said, damn, man, okay, I'll sign off on that. Okay, this is the hog fence. This stuff is just heavy gauge fencing they use for, let me think. Oh, yeah, pigs. So we go, and these were like $35 a piece. I know they were probably giving them away years ago, but, this is, it's not free. But it's only a few $100s to cover the dome, and this makes all the difference because you really have to crank it down, and you use the metal twist ties that they use for connecting rebar in foundations, and then you connect this to the conduit, and then you got a structure. Then we put the mesh over it. Now you can see the hog fence. Hopefully you got a better picture of the hog fence underneath it, and then we put this mesh over it. Now it's ready to cement. That's what it looks like. So this is what we're going for. Somebody really wants to call me. Spam. So you do the EMT electrical conduit first. You got your strong, and it's a strong structure already. Then you wire tie, like you do rebar, this hog fence to it. Then you put the mesh over that, then it's ready for cementing. Now what we're doing now is we're going to go ahead, and this is us spraying it, Lawrence and I doing that, and then smearing it on, so you get the idea. And there Lawrence did a pretty job. He's doing it all pretty. Now, this is just a workshop. We just bought like $300 worth of plastic. It's a 50 by 50. We threw it over it, tucked it underneath, boom, got a workshop. Got the wind and rain, and it was the cold. It was awesome. So we're still using that because I've done the same thing in Arizona. All right, so there's that. Now, let's go ahead and go back to here. This is really it. So we're going to go out and do a little bit of footage of us actually making these struts. So you go to desertdomes.com or dome calculator you can put in. But the best thing is you just put in Money Dome, Freedom's Phoenix. The reason we called it Money Dome is it was people were starting to use in like 9, 10, 11. They were really starting to use silver a lot at festivals. And crypto was just getting going. But the vendors needed to take that and go buy stuff at the grocery store. So they were like, we can't do it because we can't go buy groceries. So we created a place, the Money Dome, where they would come and we would give them cash for all their stuff so that they could take alternative currencies. That's what was going on. That's why we call it the Money Dome. And then other people did the same kind of thing, so it worked out. So this is where you go. You want to get all funky, you go to Dome Calculator and a 3-phase, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to punch out a couple of these, and we'll just get some links so you can see how to do it. But it has to be exact because this thing is all about exact. The holes have to match, the distance that they say. So whatever you put in there, as a radius, it's got to be 3 point whatever. Because if you don't, you'll get to a point to where it won't fit. You can tell because some of these are very close in size, 3.7, 3.6. I mean, you can hardly tell the difference in them. But if you don't do it, it won't work. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead, and Lawrence and I are going to go out, do some footage real quick because we got to leave in about 20 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and go out and punch out some struts so you can see what we're talking about. This machine that we did here saved us enormous amounts of effort for doing a bunch of domes. If you wanted to just do a onesie by yourself and you got nothing to do for a couple of days, well, then you can do it. But we did 5 16-foot domes, and it took 5 of us about a week. Just one guy on the drill press, one. So you're going to see how fast it goes, ka-chunk, ka-chunk, and we can, once I can build you your neighborhood. So we're going to go ahead and go do that real quick, and peace.